Guess what day it is? I'm so excited. I've been waiting to do this for like a week and a half. And if you saw the thumbnail, you know that this is a 24-hour reading challenge. I did this last fall. I actually did a full 24-hour, like a full all-nighter for this video, and it was so much fun to do. I read like over 1,000 pages, and this weekend I wanted to do something very similar again. However, it's currently Friday at 2 p.m. I'm starting this in the middle of the day because I had class this morning. So instead of doing 24 hours straight, I'm going to split it up into two 12-minute increments, one today and one tomorrow on Saturday. But I still want to get through a whole bunch of books. Hopefully we can read a lot, get through a lot of my TBR this weekend, and just have a really fun vlog. So let's talk about the books that are on my weekend TBR. I have quite a few things on my physical TBR that I'm thinking about reading. Okay, this one is a maybe, and that is the Atlas 6. I actually have this book back at home, but this is my friend's copy. But I've actually started this book years ago, just got a couple pages in, and I know this is very thick writing, so this one's a maybe. It depends on like how motivated I'm feeling to actually like get through a book. One that's more immediate is Under the Oak Tree. This is the only book on my March TBR that I haven't read yet, so this is obviously a priority because I would love to finish monthly TBR. This I've heard is quite spicy, but it shouldn't be too long. I think it's like 500 pages, and I also love this edition. It's very beautiful, so I would really like to enjoy this book because I like having pretty books that I also love. You know, that's why I bought it, is because I hope that I like it. Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is a book that I've had for months now and still haven't read. I read the first book in this series like years ago, but I figured I probably should put a contemporary romance on my weekend TBR if I want to have a palate cleanser in between all these like dense fantasy books maybe. And then the last thing is actually the book that I'm currently in the middle of right now, and that is Clockwork Princess. I'm currently about 35% of the way through. I'm on page 200 exactly in this 570 page book, but hypothetically if you take away the part that I've already read, I only have 370 left to go, which is a shorter book than all my other ones. So I don't know. This one has the audiobook on Spotify, and I just renewed my hours, so I have 15 hours of listening time available. So I think I'm going to start with this one because I actually have some work to do on my computer, and I want to be listening to the audiobook as I do work so I can actually start the timer. That's where we're going to begin, and let's just see how many pages I can read this week, and I'm super excited about it. If you want to see more vlogs like this, make sure to subscribe. I post new videos every Thursday, and let's get into it. We are about 2 hours and like 5 minutes into the challenge, so I wanted to do a little reading update on Clockwork Princess. I did get my work done on my computer, so I stopped reading the book through the audiobook and instead picked up the physical copy. And I was in a chapter at the end of listening to the audiobook that I won't spoil because this is book 3 in a trilogy, so I don't want to like spoil anything for any of you guys who haven't read it yet. But it got so emotional that I was like, you know what, I want to annotate this. So I pulled out my annotation, started writing in here. I have just a couple tabs. I think I'm gonna do them in like a little ombre to make it really pretty and match the cover, but I'm starting halfway through with the tabs, and so the beginning half of this book has not been tabbed at all. I do want to go back, actually I might do that now maybe, and tab some stuff from the beginning, like 200 pages. And the thing is, like, is that wasting time where I could be continuing reading? Yes, but also I would love for this to like be completely annotated, and it will take me much less time to just like breeze through and annotate a couple pages than it will to actually read those first 200. So I think I'm going to do that now and then continue either with this or pick up something else, and we'll catch up later. New angle. Who is this? So it's been a little less than an hour since I've last spoken. It's now currently 5:30, and I've spent the past like 40 to 50 minutes adding annotations to the first part of Clockwork Princess. Look at this, like with the ombre on the side. I think it looks so good. Was it a waste of time to spend my entire past 45 minutes annotating the part of the book that I've already read? Maybe. But for aesthetics, I don't really care. I think it looks so good, and now I'm excited to get into the other half of this book. Like I said, it's currently 5:30, dining hall closes at 7, so I think in about 30 minutes I'm gonna go get an early dinner and bring it back here, but I'll listen to the audiobook while I'm walking, so I'm not cheating, don't worry. And I want to get a little further in this book. I realized I didn't actually talk about like what this book was about. This is book 3 in the Infernal Devices series, which is a reread for me, and it's the last of a trilogy that I'm finally taking off my series to complete list, which is great. Since this is book 3, I don't want to talk about the plot in this too much, but I will talk about the plot in book 1, which I don't need to put it anywhere. I literally have it. Let me just pick it up. Here is book 1. This is Clockwork Angel. And so basically, this book follows our main character, Tessa, who is a human. She is 17 and she's traveling from America to London for the first time to meet up with her brother, who had moved to London, I think, a year or two before. Well, she gets to London and she realizes that the person who's supposed to pick her up and take her to her brother has actually taken her to this old house where she's trapped for, is it 6 weeks or 6 months? I'm not quite sure, but she's trapped there, and there are 2 basically monster women there who are trying to get her to shapeshift, and she does not know what they're talking about. She does not know what magic is, how to use it, so she's being like overwhelmed with this. She won't do it, she can't do it. And then eventually in the story we meet my 2 other favorite characters, Jem and Will, who are shadow hunters, and they all become this best friend trio. It's so good. In case you're wondering, yes, there is a love triangle in this series, but it's done. It's honestly one of the best love triangles I've ever read ever, so don't worry. If you're trying to choose between 2 of them, you really can't, because both Jem and Will have like perfect qualities, and also their flaws, but they're like perfect humans in my opinion. I used to say that Will was my favorite, but now after reading so much from Jem's point of view and just hearing like how emotional he is, I mean, they're both emotional. One of the great things about this series is that everyone is okay, mostly, especially in the later books, with talking about their feelings and like saying out loud things. Like there's no toxic masculinity or anything in this book. Like Jem and Will are best friends. They're not brothers like by blood, but they're brothers by friendship, and they tell each other I love you all the time, and it's just like so wholesome and sweet and amazing. And of course the love triangle is great, the plot is great, the magic, the system, the other friends, everything in this series is amazing. I gave the first book 5 stars in my reread. The second book I either gave 4 or 4.5 in the reread, and now that last book is looking like a 5-star. And I know it's a little early to say, but from the amount of annotations alone, I think you can tell that I'm obsessed with this. I think it's just fantastic, and I'm really excited about finishing the series for the second time. I'm gonna get about 100 pages more into this, and then I'm gonna grab some food, and then I might move on to Under the Oak Tree. I'm on page 326 of this book, and I want to read you this paragraph because it is so emotional and heartbreaking. This technically is a spoiler for the book, so if you don't want to hear it, skip to this timestamp, but also I won't say the names of the characters. I'm just going to like read what one of them is saying, okay? It says, I told you before that you would not leave me, and you are still with me. When I breathe, I will think of you, for without you, I would have been dead years ago. When I wake up and when I sleep, when I lift up my hands to defend myself, or when I lie down to die, you will be with me. You say we are born and born again. I say there is a river that divides the dead and the living. What I do know is that if we are born again, I will meet you in another life, and if there is a river, you will wait on the shores for me to come to you so that we can cross together. You hear that? We are bound, you and I, over the divide of death, down through whatever generations may come forever. Like, excuse me, and this is a YA book, but like I'm actually about to cry. And I know what happens, but just the emotions that this character is feeling at this moment because of what they know and what they don't know and what they're feeling, I'm actually unwell because of it. Obviously, it's a couple hours later. It's currently about 9:20. I am over a quarter way into the challenge. I'm actually almost 8 hours. We're working on it. But also, I'm crying. Well, not actually, but I was just crying a second ago. This book, oh my gosh, this book. I'm currently so close to the end. It doesn't look like it because there's like so many pages left, but this much is actually like preview, so it's only this much I have left. It's about 65 pages. And once again, I'm going to read an out of context quote, so skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear it, but I'm not going to read names. This person just said, all my life since I came to the Institute, you were the mirror of my soul. I saw the good in me in you. In your eyes alone, I found grace. When you are gone from me, who will see me like that? Like, when there are words like that written in this book, how am I supposed to read anything else after this? Why did I start with this one? Is the real question, because like, oh my god. And I've read this book before, but I didn't remember it being this beautiful and like the lyrics or the writing being so lyrical. I'm not okay. I'm not. And now the tears are here for real. I'm like underlining the entire page at this point. I'm gonna finish this and I'll get back to you. Is it bright enough? Can you see me? I personally can't tell. My bestie Benji's gonna sit with me because I am needing a little comfort, I'm not gonna lie. I just finished this book. As you guys saw, I've cried about 6 times in the past hour. Not doing well. Well, that's a lie. Like, I'm doing great because this was a 5-star. As I predicted hours ago, this was incredible. Look at these annotations, people. Just look at them. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually written in a book and or put so many tabs in a book before in my life. And I didn't expect when I started this video for this to happen, but here we are hours later and it has. Now, speaking of hours later, it has been about 8.5 hours since I started this vlog. Well, 8 and 20 minutes. Is that a little longer than I expected for the remainder of this book, which technically was 370 pages? Yes, it's a little long. But in my defense, number one, annotating makes me read slower because I'm like underlining everything, so take that into consideration. And also the fact that I went and technically reread the first 200 pages to go and re-annotate that stuff, so that was an extra hour that I probably should have taken away. So maybe 7.5 is a better representation than 8.5, but nevertheless, it really doesn't matter that much because this was an experience, and I'm so glad that I reread it, and I'm so glad that I have this final copy with like all of my notes and my annotations and my tabs and everything in it. It makes this book so well loved, in my opinion. This book has so much to it. Like, there's plot, there's setting, it's historical, there's magic, but I think that the character development in this series is what makes it stand out above anything else I've ever read. I have felt disconnected to characters like these very few times in my life in books besides this series. I don't know how to explain it. It's like every character, no matter their age, no matter like who they are, at least all the good guys, you know, I just like have a special place in my heart for all of them. That's why towards the end of this book, I'm like going through it because of the stuff that happens at the end. And again, I can't spoil, and I don't want to do a spoiler section in this video because it would make it way too long and I have other books to talk about. But specifically the relationship between Jem and Will in this book, I've never read anything like it before. Never. It's just their brotherhood is so strong. If you've read this, you know, and you know why I was sobbing for the last 100 pages. Now, I feel like plot was lagging because like the climax of the book where everything like supposed to, like the big battle where everything went down, you know, happened like 100 pages from the end of the book. And it was also very anticlimactic. I was like, hello, was that it? Kind of thing. And so I expected something else to happen later, like a second battle to kind of finalize everything, but nothing else happened. It literally was 100 pages of finishing out the story, everyone having mostly happy endings, and then the epilogue years later broke me, but we don't have to get into that. You guys saw me cry. In any other book series, 100 pages at the end of the book with no plot, just character ending and epilogues, I would hate it. But in this particular book, it works. In this series, it works. 5 stars, absolutely incredible. I've read other things by Cassandra Clare, but nothing has ever measured up to this series. One more time for the tabs. I'm glad this is done. I'm glad a new series is done. I can check that off my list. And another 5 stars for the month of March. This is the first book I've read after Sunrise on the Reaping. For context, I know you guys are seeing this vlog a little bit later than my Sunrise on the Reaping vlog, but it's literally been 2 days since I finished that book and cried over it, and now I'm crying over this 5 star as well. So it's been a rough couple of days, that's for sure. I feel like I need to take like a 3-week break after reading that book, but I obviously can't. So we're continuing. Now, I was going to pick up Under the Oak Tree next, or I was talking about this earlier. I really do want to pick it up. However, I feel like if I read a fantasy directly after this one, I'm going to compare it too much. So I think in the middle, I want to do more of a palate cleanser and read Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is a contemporary enemies to lovers romance. I think she is his secretary. He's a billionaire. Less heartbreaking, I assume, than what I just read. I'm going to do this as a palate cleanser, and then maybe tomorrow we'll pick up this afterwards. I may not talk anymore tonight because it's getting late, but I want to get cracking on this book, so let's get into it. Good morning. Good morning. I am a bit exhausted. And we're only halfway through. Well, a little over halfway through. I need to finish getting ready for the day before I leave to get some breakfast. But I wanted to talk a little bit about last night. So I last talked to you guys, I think after like 9 or 10 o'clock, I picked up Terms and Conditions. And by the way, this cover, I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those paperbacks where like the paper on the cover feels almost rubbery to touch. It's like my favorite texture of book. I would have a million of these before I have like the shiny hardbacks or the shiny paperbacks. Like, give me these, publishers, please. So yeah, I started reading the book last night, but I got so tired getting towards, midnight, 1 a.m. because I was pushing until 2. And I ended up not getting super far. I got like 56, maybe 60 pages in. I was reading quite slowly because obviously I was tired. And then did I fall asleep before the timer hit 12 hours? Yeah, I did. I'm not even sure when I fell asleep. I don't think it was that far from 2 a.m. I remember looking up and seeing it was 1:15. But then after that, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was like, oh my God, I slept for the past how many hours? So the last like 45 minutes of yesterday didn't finish, but we still have 12 hours today to do. We're gonna get a lot of stuff done. I feel like this book, Terms and Conditions, I can get through rather quickly because I'm not annotating. It's a contemporary, so there's no world building I have to realize. And honestly, the plot is going by very quickly so far. If I can get 3 decent sized books read in this video, I will be immensely happy. The last 24-hour reading challenge that I did, I read 4 books, but one of them was like a 200-page novella and one of them I was finishing. So just like Clockwork Princess, I'd already started it before the video. So let's just say I was at an advantage. Anyway, so I was just getting ready. I showered and everything, and I was listening to the audiobook of Terms and Conditions. Thank goodness that the audiobook for both this and Under the Oak Tree and Clockwork Princess are all available with Spotify Premium. So far, I think I am like 20% through this book. The plot of this book is an arranged marriage. Now, the first book followed Rowan and I don't even remember the girl's name. Think of the owner of Disney World being 3 hot middle-aged brothers, and they are all splitting their inheritance from, I think, their grandfather, but they all have to like do one thing that was in the will before they can get their inheritance. I forgot what Rowan's was. That book was a 3-star for me. It was just fine, but the girl character specifically was really cringy, and so I didn't really love it. This book is turning out a little better because it's very much Grumpy Sunshine, but not giddy Sunshine. She's very level-headed, I feel. She's very responsible. So I'm liking that a little better. And this is an arranged marriage because his requirement to get his part of the inheritance was he needed to get married and have a kid. And so she was trying to get a bride to come marry him. And at the announcement party, she bailed last minute. So I don't know what compelled her to do this, but Iris was like, you know what? I've been working for you for 3 years. We're not super close, but we get along. I'll marry you. I mean, may not have been the choice that I would have picked, but also maybe if he was hot and rich, and I don't know anything else about him yet, but hot and rich is good enough for me. I'm kidding, but yeah. So she decides that she'll be the one to marry him. Now, the one issue that I'm having with this book so far is one of the requirements is that you have to have a kid. First of all, it's so weird for your grandfather to be like, I have millions of dollars for you, but I need you to have a baby first. What if you don't want to have kids, Or what if you don't want to get married? I feel like it's really weird with that plot line, and specifically the one where she's basically putting herself in a situation where if she doesn't have a baby with him, they don't get the inheritance, which is okay, what if she's infertile? What if she doesn't want kids? transcends. What, you know, like there's so many things that could be an issue here. However, apparently it's not an issue for her, in her opinion. So who am I to judge, to be honest? The plot is going by quite quickly though, in that we get right into the action. Like she agrees to marry him on like page 6 because there's a dual point of view. I can already tell that he already has a lot of respect for her. He really likes her. I think she's beautiful. Those are my thoughts so far. And we're gonna get much further in this book, hopefully finish it. If I could finish it in under 6 hours and have the other 6 hours for my last book, that would be perfect. I'm on page 240 in this book, which is exactly 50%, so halfway there. It's currently 12:40, and my goal is to finish this by 3 p.m. So can we do it? I don't know. But honestly, this is turning out way better than I expected. Reading this, I'm like getting a little giddy, I'm not gonna lie. They're really cute together. They really are. And I'm glad that she's like opening up and like telling him how she feels about working for him, and how I know because of that, he's gonna open up and talk about his relationships with his family because they both have like daddy issues and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a very classic billionaire romance. Nothing original by any means, but it's enjoyable and I'm really getting through it quite quickly, I think. It could work up to be a 4-star. So let's just see if that happens. Y'all remember like 5 seconds ago when I said I wanted to finish this book by 3 p.m.? Yeah, so that didn't happen. I forgot that I have to like eat food and like eat lunch and stuff, so I went and grabbed food and that took a little bit while I was listening to the audiobook, but I just finished this book literally like 3 minutes ago. It's currently 3:45. 3:50. So almost another hour extra, but it's fine. And this entire video is me setting expectations and then like realizing it's gonna take me a little longer than I thought to finish it. This was actually really fun to read. I'm glad that I picked this one up after Clockwork Princess because I think this was a great refresher. It was really good. Now I'm really debating back and forth between giving it a 4-star or a 3.5 because prose first, okay, it was so much fun to read. I really liked both of the characters. I thought they had good banter. I thought it was cheesy at some parts, of course, but like every romance book is gonna be a little bit cheesy. And I really enjoyed specifically this section, like in the middle, closer to the front, when they're like fake dating / fake marriaging and they're having to put on a show and, you know, kiss each other and stuff like that. That was the best part. And then towards the end, we got a little heavy in the business stuff. We had a miscommunication, third act well, not breakup, but third act like fighting issue, which, okay. Were they technically problems that I understand coming from both of their histories that they wanted to figure out? Yeah, I get it. However, I feel like it could have been shortened. It could have been rewritten a little bit to not make it drag on as long. Honestly, I feel like if they just used their words a little more, we wouldn't have this issue in the first place. And also, I feel that occasionally throughout this book, pacing was a little weird. Like, Declan, the guy, is being grumpy, and then all of a sudden he's in love with her, and then they're going so well for a while, and then one small thing happens, and he's yelling at her and all this stuff. And I'm like, you switch moods faster than I do on my period. It was a little weird, a little whiplashy. I think I'm leaning towards 3.5, maybe? I'm trying to think of like 4-star books that are on my shelf and whether or not this deserves a 4 or a 3.5. I'll put on the screen my final rating for this. But what I do know is that I will be finishing this series, or it's actually just a trilogy, because I want to get book 3 and read about Cal's story. Apparently it's with his ex, so getting back with your ex, that's an interesting choice. Also, I remembered that I have read one other book by her. It was her Christmas novella, and I really liked that one. I think I gave it 4 stars. So, you know what? Maybe this is worthy of a 4-star. Now, I have literally almost exactly, I think, 5 hours left in this challenge. I think I'm just going to jump into Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. It is about 450-60 pages, so almost the exact same length as the previous book. Because that one took me about 7 hours, I doubt that I'm going to finish this one in the next 5, but hopefully I can get a good chunk of the way through and at least up the page count for this video. So that is my goal. Let us get into it. The sun, I think, is slowly setting outside. We're at like 6:30 right now, but I'm not sure how much I'm loving this at all. When people said it was spicy, it is spicy, but that's mostly because the guy in this book, quote, can't control himself, and he's just so desperate for her body like all the time. I've read 100 pages, and I think they've already had sex at least 3 times. I'm like 100 pages in. I mean, mind you, okay, the plot of this book, let's step back for a second. Our girl's name is Maxie. She is the daughter of the Duke. She has a stutter, and because of that, she's always, treated badly. She's always thought of as lesser in her family compared to her younger sister Rosetta. So her father marries her off to this knight, this lowborn knight, instead of giving her like a beautiful, gorgeous wedding to someone big and important. So the knight marries her, leaves for 3 years for the war, and then comes back, and he's like all renowned and very popular because of his duty in the war and what he did. So he comes back to get her, and now they're traveling, I guess, to his hometown. And it's weird because I'm like, he has so many red flags, and she is such a damsel that it bothers me. Like, he can't control himself, apparently, which is such a dumb excuse. I hate when people say that. And was very rough with her the first time. The first time was their wedding night, and then he left for 3 years. And I suppose in this situation, it's like you are supposed to consummate the marriage, but even if that was a requirement, which I still think is stupid, there are many ways you can go about it that's much more gentler and much more respectful than what he was doing. Very much a dubcon situation, and I don't like non-con in my books, and I'm really hesitant towards dubcon. So reading that scene and continuing was like really a struggle for me, but I decided to push through. But again, they've had sex at least 2 other times since then. I don't even want to describe it like this. They've been more enjoyable for her, but I don't think it's that enjoyable at all for her. And I'm just like, I don't really feel the romance, anything between them. He says that she's beautiful. He's mentioned nothing about her stutter and all that stuff. So I guess he's being portrayed as a nice person, but he also can be incredibly rude and violent, not only to her, but to other people as well. And I just don't get the hype in him at all. And then going back to Maxie, the girl, like I said, she has a stutter and she is always looked down because of that. I think having a speech impediment in a character is good for representation, things like that. And I can also imagine that if you had a speech impediment, that maybe your self-esteem would be lower if people were treating you differently or being rude to you, stuff like that. I get how that could affect you. However, I feel like they're really pushing it with this character. She's constantly apologizing. She's always like, oh, sorry, sir. She just doesn't know how to stand up for herself at all. And it's not, in my opinion, because of the speech impediment. It's because she's like a damsel in distress and doesn't have a backbone. So I'm like, if there is some character growth in this, great. I would love to see you speak up for yourself, stand up for yourself, grow a backbone. If I don't see some immense character growth in her and also in him to pull back on those red flags, like, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy this very much. So I haven't DNF'd yet. I'm trying not to, but I don't know if I'm loving it. So yeah, wish me luck, because this one is scaring me a little bit. I'm very happy to say that my second 24-hour reading challenge was a success. I'm so excited. It is an hour later. It's currently 10 o'clock. I had to pause the timer for an hour because my mumsy called me, and of course I'm gonna yap to her, so we yapped for like an hour, but then I continued the timer, read for the last 2 hours, and I'm actually really proud with the amount of reading I got done this weekend. So let's talk about it. First though, I want to talk about Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. I am currently 65% of the way through. I got to page 322 before the timer went off, so a lot of progress in this book today. Didn't finish it, but I do intend to finish it the next day or so. But I do definitely have a couple of qualms with this book that I want to talk about. Although I'm not done, I think it'll probably hit around a 3-star rating for me. It's not bad. It's not terrible, but it really isn't great either. It's easy to read. I'm flying through it, but I wouldn't pick up the second volume. I don't like I really want to continue after this. I wouldn't really recommend this book to anyone because it's nothing that we haven't seen before, right? Enemies to lovers romance. She's in a castle. He's a knight. Like basic stuff. The dubcon stuff has stopped, which I appreciate. I don't really care about them. I would just say that as far as being incredibly rude to her or incredibly violent, he hasn't done any of those things, which is great. I mean, bare minimum, but that's good. The book is very repetitive because she is basically just trapped in this castle. It's a lot of her refurnishing, her doing math problems, her learning about magic over and over and over again. And the chapters are so incredibly long that it's like you go through multiple days of the exact same thing in one chapter and you're like, oh my god, get through this a little faster. I don't really care. I don't, you know. I feel like this is also verging on misogynistic. I mean, like I said, the stuff at the beginning that was kind of shying me away has not continued. It's not like God of Malice level or anything like that. But I would say that it's just weird to me that she's like the only female character. I mean, there's one other main female character who has a speaking role, but that's her maidservant. And of course, the maidservant has to be female. Everyone else is male. I feel like all the men talk to her very violently, very, why would you do this? And like very rude. And then they get on other people for being rude to her about her stutter. But I'm like, you were just as mean to her like 20 pages ago. What are we talking about? Like, it's a lot of whiplash towards her. As far as her character as well, like I said, there's a difference between like her stutter and her speech impediment, and then also her just simply not having a backbone. And I feel like 65% of the way through the book, the backbone has strengthened, but it is done so by like this much. It's barely anything to really write home about. So I don't feel like her character is really strong enough to make me support her. And I really want that growth for her, because I think that that character arc could be really interesting to watch. And I know that there are also going to be multiple volumes of this, but I'm just like, I don't feel enough for you. You still are a little bit too much of a wimp for me, in my opinion, this far into the book, if that makes sense. Also, there have been a couple of mentions about like, you're a woman, let's find you a gentler horse, or you're a woman, you enjoy decorating, right? You must enjoy decorating the house. This is your job to decorate the house. And I'm like, okay, so you're being misogynistic a little bit. Not loving that at all. The undertones are not making me happy, but I'm still gonna finish it. If you haven't seen my wrap-up video that came out last week, go watch it and you'll hear my final thoughts on this. But that's that on that. Let's talk about complete wrap-up for the entire video, because I need to go to bed. So, as far as page count for this entire weekend, over 24 hours, I read 1,152 pages. That is 370 pages of Clockwork Princess, and then the entire 460 pages of Terms and Conditions, and then the first 322 pages of this book, Under the Oak Tree. However, if you count the fact that I did reread the first 200 pages of this book whenever I was doing all my annotations, technically that means I read 1,300 pages, 1,352. So depends on how you look at it. I read between 1,100 and 1,300 pages, but honestly, not bad if you ask me. Just for final wrap-up's sake, this was incredible. It was 5 stars. I'm still thinking about it. If you haven't read the series, pick it up. After stewing on it for a little bit, I decided to give Terms and Conditions 4 stars. I had a couple issues with it, like I said, but overall it was a really enjoyable book and I really flew through it. And then like I just said, this one, although I haven't finished it, will probably end up around a 3-star rating. But overall, that's still an average of a 4-star for the entire weekend, and that's a great rating. So I'm really happy about how this video went. If you want to see another 24-hour reading challenge from me, make sure to subscribe. I post every single Thursday. And if you want to watch my last reading challenge for 24 hours, I'll put the video here on the screen. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.